Good morning, good day, and good evening. I'm, as always, your host, Brody Robertson, and today we are here to talk about all things accessibility. Now, you may have seen a post going around the Fediverse the other day that got quite a bit of attention, we'll say. And we have the author of that post on today. Welcome, Aaron, or Fireborn, or whatever name you want to use online. I know you have Aaron on Discord, but it's Fireborn in your blog. I don't know which one you prefer to use.
So, Fireborn is just a screen name that I used in a couple places. I actually don't mind people knowing my real name, and there's a reason behind that. The reasoning behind that is just because I'm proud of what I do, and I'm proud of the things that I write. And I think that hiding behind a screen name when you're calling out something it's fine if that's what you need to do to keep yourself safe. But I don't feel like this is an industry where I'm unsafe to do that, and so I call it out with my name because I want people to know this is a real person with a real problem.
Right. No, that's understandable. And I get why people do it for a lot of things, but like you're not doing anything dangerous, right? Like talking about the state of accessibility, the state of like the Linux audio stack, things like that. Like that's, I feel like being a person there really does make it more sort of approachable as a problem, right? It's not just it's not like, you know, some faceless voice arguing on the internet. It's somebody who is an actual person who has an actual problem that you can put a name directly to.
And you can reach out to me too, right? Like it's not... Again, another thing is it's meant to be approachable. I want to start conversations. I want people to reach out and say, explain more about this, or I learned this other thing that like we could do. How do you feel about this? Or whatever it is, you know? I want people to be able to reach out and talk to me about these things. Right.
Okay, before we get like way too sidetracked on whatever we get sidetracked on, as like a brief introduction, I guess, why did you want to write this series? Right now there's only 2 parts. I don't know if you have any of the other parts like in progress or not.
They're all done.
Right.
I have people, and there's a couple of people who want to work with me on translating them into different languages, hence why I'm holding them at the moment, because I don't feel like it's fair to publish the English versions first and then follow up with the other language ones later, because language is also accessibility.
Right.
And so I'm waiting on to get in contact with them a little bit more and iron things out.
Okay, fair enough. I guess, yeah, so why did you want to write a series on the state of accessibility? Like, what prompted you to sit down and not just write one, but is it a 7-part series?
It's, it's 7 originally, but then there was like a thank you post that I wrote to some people who had really reached out, so it's now 8.
Okay.
That one is published. So there are 3 currently, and so then the rest are coming. But yeah, so I guess we should start from the beginning, right?
Right.
To kind of explain where I came from in the Linux world of things. So I like to say I started using Linux before using Linux was cool.
Right.
I started with an old Samsung NC10 netbook back in 2009.
Okay. You've been doing this for a while then.
I've been doing this for a bit, yeah. And it was kind of by accident. So my parents bought me this netbook that I could use because they were quite ahead of the curve. They understood that technology was going to be essentially the future for people who were visually impaired or otherwise, you know, disabled in some way to interact with the world. So they were quite forward thinking about that, and they got this netbook, and they didn't really know too much about technology, and so they just assumed it would come with Windows like everything else did. It didn't. It was supposed to, but it came with Debian 8, I think. No, it wouldn't have been 8.
No, 8 was
it would have been 5.
Okay, yeah, something in that range.
Something in that range, yeah.
Debian 5 released in initial release 2009. Yep, February
Yeah, so
2009.
it was 4 or 5. And so I was slightly in the dark as to what to do because everything that like people were telling me was Windows stuff, and I had a bash prompt with no way to read it because obviously the other person didn't think to enable speech. So I started, looking around, and I sat down with my dad and we looked up. We didn't really know what Debian was, so we looked up Debian first. What is this thing? What is Debian GNU/Linux? What is this? What does this do? What is this thing? So we looked it up and we found out about Speak Up and getting software speech output and all this stuff, and we eventually got it enabled. But I still didn't have a graphical environment for a while. I was doing everything from Bash, like from a Bash shell. So I learned the command line there. And then there was a project called Vinux that existed for a while, which was a distribution made just for the blind.
How do you spell that?
Vinux. The website still exists.
Vinux. Okay, let's see if we can find it.
See if we can find that.
Vinux. I found the Wikipedia page for it. That's good enough.
There you go, that'll do. It's a distribution made for the blind, essentially, and it was based originally on Ubuntu. No, it wasn't originally based on Ubuntu. I can't remember what it was originally based on, but eventually it became based on Ubuntu 12.04. And then eventually 14.04. And it was designed to be as accessible as it was possible for Linux to be at the time.
Right.
And it got the job done, right? I could do stuff. I could look at the internet. I could do my, homework on it. It was fine. And it actually came up with an installer that spoke and everything, and it was fine. And then I kept using Linux. I eventually did have to learn Windows, but I kept using Linux myself because I was used to it and I liked it. And there was always this thing, even then, of what updates are going to break something next.
Right.
What's going to be broken? What am I not going to be able to do this time? What am I not going to be able to do this week? And a lot of that was based on came from the fact that
what's that? I can hear something in the background.
Sorry, hold on. My sister has decided that now is the perfect time to play really loud music. Great. See if I can make it go away. Sorry.
No, it's so good. Sorry, I thought maybe it was like your phone or something.
No. There we go. I think it might be fixed now. I think that might have helped.
Yep. Okay, that should be better. Yeah.
Okay. Horrible rap music too. I'm not into it at all. Right. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, there was always this thing. They would prominently say on the Vinux website, don't update anything because it will just explode in your face.
I see.
But you get to the point where you had to. And so it was like, what is going to break when I do this time? And then I learned about a project called Talking Arch.
Okay.
Which was literally just an accessible Arch Linux ISO. So it wasn't nothing special. It would just boot into an accessible ISO, which would have speech on boot. And so I installed Arch. Which went about as well as you expect it did.
For anyone who is kind of curious, that project appears to have now been folded into the main Arch Linux.
It has.
Which is cool.
But it wasn't then. And even now, it's kind of they broke it in the latest ISOs.
Of course they did.
Yeah, now if you have multiple sound cards, I hope you enjoy rebooting until also finds the right one.
I see. Okay.
Yes, it's one of those.
So
I think we'll get onto that.
yeah.
But yeah, so I carried on using Linux, and I carried on using it, and I switched distros a lot. I have a lot of different machines running different distributions. I have a Fedora machine, I have an Arch machine, I have a Debian machine. I know, Debian. I have a Bedrock machine. And what I found was, while there was talk about accessibility, that seemed to kind of peter off around 2015, 2016. And it all just seemed to kind of degrade over time from there. That, not in massive ways. It would something would break, and you'd have to find a workaround. And then Chromium and Electron apps started becoming a thing, and they weren't accessible unless you added a force render accessibility flag to their launchers. And then even then, that wouldn't work sometimes, and you need to set an environment variable that wasn't documented anywhere, and you'd only find by looking in the I think LKML was where I found a couple of them.
Right.
Because someone had just happened to write it down as having this enabled does this thing. And I was like, oh, this is dbus related, so maybe it'll fix this other thing. So yeah, I've also been lurking on the LKML for ages. Which is great for multiple reasons.
Hey, well, at least the LKML is like the archives are just a wall of text, so
yeah, exactly. It's really easy to find stuff. You need to find a patch set from 15 years ago because someone didn't add preempt flags for audio and you need them. Go find that patch set and revert the patch for yourself. I'm being slightly sarcastic. You shouldn't actually have to do that, but it does happen.
You shouldn't have to. You're right. You shouldn't have to.
But it does happen sometimes. So I kept using it, and things kept breaking, and the discussion was there. But it was more about how do we make workarounds for this brokenness?
Right.
And what really happened to set me off, what really got me mad, was I was trying to install Ubuntu for someone else who was switching to Linux.
Do you remember what version this was?
And 2404. This was recent.
Okay. Oh, okay. Really recent.
Yeah, this is what tipped me over the edge from, oh, I guess this is just where we are, to, no, this is unacceptable. I'm really mad now.
Right.
And I wanted to start them on Ubuntu. And there's a lot of people who are going to say, oh, canonical evil, Snap's evil. Okay, I might agree with you. In fact, I definitely agree with you. But it's a very beginner-friendly thing. If they need to Google something, they can Google it and don't have to call me every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I defaulted to it. And it took me a while to get it installed for a start, because the installer just is horrible. Basically, almost impossible to navigate. You can do it, but you got to remember where you are. If you want to do anything custom with any partitions at all, like put /home on a different partition, no. Not accessible, can't do it. Unless you do it with gdisk first.
Am I remembering correctly that they recently have changed out the installer with the newer one?
They did. They switched to a Flutter-based installer.
Right.
And Flutter, Google should be publicly shamed for Flutter every day. You should put up banners saying that Flutter is garbage every day. Because it is.
Okay.
It is horrendous. It is the least accessible UI kit I've ever seen.
Do you want to expand upon that?
So it's basically it makes everything so obscure.
Right.
And just does not have decent documentation, at least not that I could find. There are some people that have somehow magically made it work. Kind of ish. I don't know how. Those people are just geniuses, okay? I don't... They're just really clever people that have managed to work around the fact that there's just no... There's really very little support for keyboard navigation. If you want to label buttons in like a dynamic way, there's no real way to do that that I know of. And again, I kind of just looked at it and went, I'm never using this, so then never looked at it again.
Right, that's fair. That's fair.
Right? So again, I could be incorrect. I want to just... I also, quickly... I should have said this at the start. Everything I say here is my own opinion and my own experiences. Like, there are things that could be incorrect because I just haven't found the magic incantation yet.
Sure. Totally fair.
So I have to be fair, and like I could get things wrong because I just haven't tried hard enough.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
But
it would be nice if some of these things just didn't require as much trying and were just kind of nicely working.
Exactly. But no, Flutter is terrible. They switched their installer to it, and so it kind of rendered it unusable. Radio buttons are reported as checkboxes. Why?
What?
They aren't. They are completely different element types. What is going on?
I have seen this. This is a really annoying... I don't know how things get reported, but there is a really annoying UI trend that I see where people will use the radio button design for a checkbox, or like they'll come up with like new shapes for them where I don't there's nothing wrong with how they were clearly different things before, and that like these are very clearly different UI elements. Do not mix them up. Stop it. Like, this is a problem. This is not just a problem for anyone who might be blind. Like, this is a problem for everybody else as well.
It's UI inconsistency hell.
Yeah.
And it's really bad. Stop doing it.
Fully agree.
So I was installing it for them, and I got it installed, and that was fine. And I was like, oh, I can then press Alt Super S. I got the drum beat, and I was like, oh, cool, they added that back. Nice.
That's nice.
That means I now know I'm at the login screen, so I can press Alt Super S and get speech on login and select the session type and whatever. No. Didn't work. Didn't do anything. So I logged in with the password that we'd set, and I enabled speech again, and I was like, okay, maybe that's what you need to do. Kind of kludgy, but whatever. I guess. And I, installed the stuff that they wanted. I gave them the computer, and I went away. I went to do my own thing. They called me within like an hour. And said, I had to restart because updates, and whatever. Because I don't remember what it was they were doing. They were doing something, and they were like, I had to restart my computer. And I was like, okay. Basically, why are you calling me about this? Because I didn't know. I was confused. I was like, why are you calling me about this? And they were like, well, I got this drum beat noise, but no kind of speech. And I was like, but I enabled it.
Oh.
What? I turned the toggle on for user-assistive technologies in the settings. What? Why? So I was like, okay, can you log in and you should get speech then? Like, just type your password. It's fine. Whatever. It might just... I can fix it later for you. So please just type your password and you'll get speech. And they typed the password, and they got nothing.
Of course.
So I was like, okay, press these keys. And then they did, and then they got speech. And I was like, but I can reboot my Debian system that I have been like minor version bumping for 4 years, and this just works? What? How? What is happening here?
Jesus Christ.
And so I Googled it.
And
I found a script that was meant to fix this. Random script on GitHub. It's going to be one of many of these. Random script on GitHub that is meant to patch around this. And so I looked at how it worked. And I was like, oh, it adds these lines to the lightdm greeter config file. Okay. I can do that. That's fine. I won't run this random script because no thank you.
Fair. Yeah.
I can see what it does. I can see what it changes. I will change it myself.
Right.
So I changed it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work. I installed a different greeter. Everything exploded.
Of course.
And I was like, what? How did installing a different greeter break this? I just lost. And then I was like, you know what? I'm really annoyed about this now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the day after that I posted my first blog post.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a kind of some of the reason that a lot of that was focused so heavily on Ubuntu.
Right.
Was because that's what was fresh on my mind. Because I'd just been dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually what I ended up doing was I just ended up installing Debian for them.
Mm-hmm.
They've been very happy with that. I enabled tracking of backports so that they could get more recent versions of some stuff, but so they could get the more recent accessibility APIs and all that stuff, which isn't. It still breaks sometimes because the dependencies are weird. But overall, they're happy with that.
That's good.
And Canonical, if you're listening to this, just fix it. It's actually not that hard. Look at how Debian... You're based off Debian, okay? You already have the base.
Mm-hmm.
Just do that.
I know for a fact there are some Canonical engineers that do watch this, so... You know, if...
Please, just follow... Look at how they do it. And do that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I understand you want your pretty graphical installer. I don't care. I want a thing where I can type numbers.
Yeah.
The Debian installer is amazing. It's like select a language and then gives you a list of numbers and you type the number and then it's like select this other thing and you type the number of the thing you want.
Mm-hmm.
Do it that way.
Let's see. I've never actually installed Debian.
I mean, the graphical installer for Debian does exist, but if you boot
the
Debian
console installer.
Yeah, if you boot any Debian image, actually, even the ones with the graphical installers, if you boot it and press S at the boot prompt, it will speak.
Oh.
And it will drop back to the old console installer.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, when you boot into it, it gives you like a. I assume at the start. I don't know if this is an old one or not. Okay, this is from like 8 years ago, but it's showing where you can like press different letters and it'll take you into different parts. You can press I to go to install. Okay, so it's still the same installer. Okay. Pretty much.
Not exactly. It's more like it like guides you through it.
Right.
Maybe I'll demo it at some point. To show people kind of what it does. But it's really, really straightforward and really easy. And it enables the biggest thing for me is it enables speech on login. Right? Which no other installer actually does. Fedora doesn't do this. Ubuntu doesn't do this. Arch does if you configure it.
Cool. Well, yeah. Arch does a lot of things if you configure it. Yeah.
Which I mean, it goes without saying, but I have to say it because someone's going to turn around and go, "Well, what about Arch?" Because people do that a lot.
Oh no! What I get is NixOS fixes that every time.
I get that so much. Do you know how many times I've dealt with the NixOS fixes that people? Just from this post alone.
I'm sure.
NixOS fans, I'm going to say this now. I know it can fix that. Maybe read the rest of my post and you'll understand why it doesn't.
Right. Like, the reason why they bring that up with your post is because you talked about not updating things. So the NixOS people are pinning versions? That's what NixOS is. This is exactly what NixOS is for.
So you clearly didn't read the rest of it, did you?
Yes, go on.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
So yeah, I installed that for them, and they're very happy with it. And we have a Linux convert because I had the patience to sit down for, I think it like about 3 hours in total, and that sounds like not a lot of time. But I can install Windows in 20 minutes.
Well, it's 3 hours for Ubuntu. Like,
yeah.
Like,
because it was just so. It was configured in such a backwards way.
My point with that is like, Ubuntu is like generally considered a really easy thing to install, a really easy thing to get into, but it took you 3 hours to do it. Like that's a problem.
The install, like I said, the install was bad, but like it was the post-install thing is just not working.
Right.
Because they've transitioned like Thunderbird and Firefox to snaps. Firefox works great. Okay, I can use the snap version of Firefox. Don't want to, can. Snap version of Thunderbird doesn't, because they don't enable the same dbus accessibility, whatever it is that whatever magic they do. I don't know, because it's not documented.
Of course they don't. Why would they?
So they enabled this for Firefox.
Okay.
But they didn't kind of go, hey, maybe this other thing that's basically Firefox as an email app, maybe we should do the same thing.
Jesus Christ.
So if I want to use Ubuntu, I have to rip out Snap anyway.
Yeah.
So like, why? Why would I use it?
Since you're talking about the Flutter installer, you did mention I think you mentioned Mate, but did you mention the old installer in your first post? I don't remember.
I didn't.
Okay, what was
I did actually. I said yes. Ubuntu Mate 12.04 had a navigable, workable, accessible installer.
Right.
Yes, I did. Yes, I may or may not be looking at the post at the same time.
If you need to reference your own post, that's totally fine. This is why I make some of my videos, so I can go back and reference them.
Yeah, I did. I did mention it.
Did that
and it was fine.
Yeah, did that sort of continue up until they did the installer swap?
It was a very much slow boil of the frog.
I see.
So the installer always worked up until they did this. But other stuff would break over time. Like the login screen on, I think it was 2210. And okay, everyone's going to say, oh, you shouldn't use point releases. Point releases have newer accessibility software. Ubuntu doesn't do backporting properly.
Right.
If I want to use an up-to-date accessibility stack, I'm using the in-term releases. So, like, it just wouldn't work. And, like, again, these random scripts would pop up on GitHub to fix it. But now we're at the point where these people who've been driving Ubuntu for years and know how to work around it every time they break it, the newest script literally says, I don't know why this doesn't work anymore. It has a comment in it that says, this doesn't work.
Right.
I don't know why.
Oh my god.
It's not a good look.
No, definitely not.
It's not. But the you know what's even more, like, stupid about this whole thing? And I found this out afterwards. Linux Mint, the Mate version of Linux Mint, still uses the old installer, and then goes above and beyond with that. And if I enable speech at the login screen, which I can do, by the way, because it works, it will carry into the user session.
Wow. What a crazy innovation that is.
Right?
You change a setting and it remembers the setting. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. Amazing. But that version, I think that the latest version of Mint 22.1 is based on Ubuntu 24.04.
Right.
So, how did they not break this? Like, whoever at Mint checked this and then decided, because I'm guessing that's what happened here. Whoever at Mint checked this and went, we can't ship that. Well done. No, you can't. But, like, thank you.
My assumption, I could be completely off base here, but my guess is it's kind of like the people that tend to use Mint are the same kind of people that tend to use Debian, minus the people who are very new to Linux who just read some posts. But like the people who are on Mint who've been on Linux for 10 years, they don't want to go anywhere because Mint is comfortable. Mint is very conservative in changes. They're very slow moving. So my guess is there's probably more people who are on there because they know things aren't really going to change that drastically. So they might have more people who would bring that up during early testing. That's just my initial guess there.
I don't know. I've never been part of the Mint community. Maybe that has to change. Maybe I need to engage with them more just to make sure that change that Canonical pushed or whoever the Ubuntu Mate maintainers are. I don't know if it's directly canonical or not, but whoever maintained that, make sure that that change does not get pushed to Mint until
right.
something drastically changes with it being terrible. Another project I want to call out, the Fedora project.
Okay.
The Fedora Mate spin has an inaccessible installer. Please fix that. It runs as root and just doesn't speak. There used to be a workaround for this. Do you want to know what the workaround for this used to be?
I don't know if I want to know. This is going to be something dumb, isn't it?
It's really dumb.
Okay, sure. What is it?
Open a terminal.
Right.
Set a password for the live session user. Log out and log back in.
Right.
That used to fix it.
Is there an explanation to why this fixes it, or is it just it fixes it, so I did it?
I think it prevents it from running as sudo because then sudo requires a password.
Right.
And so the installer just doesn't know what to do with that. I'm guessing that that's why it does that.
Okay.
But I've seen other applications fall back in a similar way, especially when there's no like graphical sudo implementation active. Because it's the installer, and so you don't want to just have it fail.
Yeah.
So that fixes it. Which kind of wild.
Yeah.
But there we are. That doesn't work anymore.
Okay. Okay.
Can't do that now. The workstation installer, though, absolutely beautiful. Basically perfect.
Okay, well that's good. That's good.
Yeah, love it. I haven't tried doing anything fancy with like fancy partitioning setups with it. I'm too old for that. Okay. I don't need /var on a different partition anymore. It's not that fragile.
Yeah, no. I have my root and home separate just because it makes things easier for me. But that,
I do as well.
That's that and like I'll set up additional ones. I have a game partition, but like my setup is pretty simple nowadays. I don't really dig too deeply into that.
Yeah, I don't either. I used to have it where /usr was separate, /var was separate, /home was separate.
Oh god, you went
/boot was separate.
You went real hard with it. Okay.
But the reason was because everything would just explode at one point, and I didn't want to keep losing stuff when things decided they would break.
Okay.
So what I did was I separated everything out. I think even /etc was separate. And then like fstab was like somehow linked to not explode. I don't entirely remember how I did that.
Right.
I think fstab was mounted by the kernel at boot time rather than be handled by the init.
Right. Okay.
I think that's how I worked around it. I don't remember.
And
so I think fstab was in boot, and then it was just symlinked into etc when other applications would look for it.
Right.
Don't quote me on that because it's been many years. But yeah, so like I didn't try that with the Fedora installer. I just like accepted the defaults. I did the Windows thing of next install. Because I just wanted to get a system up and running with it because I wanted to test out the new Wayland changes. So yeah, I did that, and that was great. That was amazing. There's a bug at the moment where you can't select a time zone.
What?
Because you type into the box to select the time zone, and the list box that appears for the cities, you can't reach it with keyboard focus. My workaround for this was just click randomly on the screen until the next button showed up, and then set the time zone later.
Fair.
Literally just click randomly with a mouse until the next button appeared, and I was like, okay, I've clicked on something, and then I'll click next, and...
I see.
It's just the random things that we do.
Hey, if it worked, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Okay, it's not fine.
No, it's not fine.
I'm on the internet. I've already connected to the internet by this point. Just detect it. Like...
Wait, yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, no. If you're on the internet, why
do I have to select it?
Yeah, no. Okay. Okay, that's actually yeah. No,
Like,
that's
even
just
if you
dumb then.
can't focus it with the keyboard. Okay, please fix that you can't focus it with the keyboard. But first, if you just detected it and selected it automatically, and then I could just click next, this wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And again, I'm not trying to hate on the Fedora project. They had an inaccessible installer for ages, and then someone fixed it with the new web installer.
That is good.
I appreciate it very much.
What was the problem with the old installer they had?
It was the same Anaconda installer that the Fedora Mate Spin is still using.
Ah, okay.
Again, that workaround worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was possible to make it accessible. There is another bug with Fedora by default, sorry, tangent, where it will randomly change the screen reader pitch mid-sentence. I don't understand why.
Like, it's still...
But it does it.
You can still understand. It's not, like, to a pitch
where yeah, it doesn't make it understandable, but it will go chipmunk on you, and you're like, okay, what's happened here?
Right.
And it's because of the default synthesizer they're using. They're using something called eSpeak-NG with... Is it Umbrella or Umbrella or something like that? Where it has this problem, but normal eSpeak-NG doesn't. And I don't entirely know why they would use that. Maybe there's a language reason. Maybe it supports more languages. I don't know. I speak English, and so I don't ever change it from English. And it has that weird pitch bug. But it's fine.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Anyway.
You just started raining really loudly outside.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Okay, we're good now.
Sorry, I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent there.
No, it's all good.
But I had to call out them doing good. Another project that's doing great is Elementary.
Okay.
And while it's not fully accessible yet, there's still a lot of work to be done. They did actually engage with me and want to make changes.
Awesome.
The shortcuts overlay is now almost accessible. There's now actual feedback for desktop notifications. It now tells you at install time how to enable speech. Like, if you sit there for a minute, it will tell you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a thing now. Like, their installer is actually fully accessible and just works. So it's like onboarding. So yeah, there's still some stuff that needs to be done, obviously. But I like what they're doing, and they're engaging, and they let me spam their GitHub with issues. So
So a bit ago you mentioned Electron apps like early on having really bad accessibility issues. Right now we're doing this on Discord. What is like you can't obviously speak for every single Electron app because different devs are going to do different things. But what is the state of things like Discord today?
They're actually really good now. It's something I was going to kind of get to is that over the last 2 years, I've seen more change in the last 2 years than I have in the last 8 before that. And so Discord is fine. VS Code is possibly the best example I can give for an accessible Electron app.
Okay.
Like, I know it's Microsoft, and so people are going to be like, oh, but Microsoft. No. Right. They made... I use Visual Studio Code sometimes. I'm not going to say I like it. It's not my code editor of choice. But, like, if I need to use a code editor with, like, built-in version control and debugging and all this stuff, it's going to be VS Code.
Right.
Because it's a really good example of an Electron app. Discord had a rough start. They weren't very accessible for years. And that wasn't just because of Electron. That was just because Discord wasn't accessible on mobile, on desktop, on anything.
Right.
And then they somehow decided to listen from somewhere, and now it is.
That's good.
Sometimes they have regressions, like when they change to the new UI.
Yeah.
Yeah. That inbox button. Please get that out of my way. There's already a keyboard shortcut for it. I don't need a button there.
I actually have a different problem with it. I click the inbox button and I have notifications. There's never anything in it. It doesn't work for me. I don't know why.
You need to click on the tabs. There are tabs at the top, like unread and all.
There's
and stuff.
Tabs?
And if you click on one of those tabs, you'll actually see what's in it. Like
Wait.
if you get a notification, it won't show as unread properly.
Wait, look. Oh my god,
Like,
there are tabs. Oh my god, there are
yeah,
tabs.
yeah, there are tabs at the top.
I never noticed that. Okay.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
You learned something.
I did learn something. You know, maybe the screen reader does help because you can't miss an element if it reads it to you.
Oh, you can. No. You absolutely
Okay.
can miss something. If you tab past it, if that thing doesn't have a
Fair.
keyboard focusable tag or uses something stupid like ARIA hidden, even when
Ah,
it's a button, because you haven't accepted some terms and conditions yet, and so you can't even find the. Stop
I
doing
see.
that.
Okay, that makes sense. That
Stop.
makes sense. Right.
Stop. Stop abusing ARIA to make me agree to cookies. You won't win this.
Actually, one other thing I did want to bring up before we sort of moved on something different. When you're talking about like your experience, like moving into Linux, you mentioned it was like 2009 or so. Yes, when you first started.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
As the web has sort of gotten like more complex and more of a nightmare to use, even if you can see, has it been that like websites have gotten generally more difficult to use with just how many different things there are to focus on, how they lay out, like how they like handle the page structuring, all of that? Okay. So before I I lost my power, which is great, let's hope that one doesn't happen again. This is why I record with MKV files. MP4 sucks because if they don't have a proper endpoint, the file is dead. MKV.
I think MOV is the same, right?
I don't. I'm not sure. I think so. I think OBS explicitly warns you not to use MP4 just because it has this problem. Anyway,
Yes.
I was saying before we lost my.
I lost sound too. So like whatever took your
Oh.
power out took my sound out. That's what we're saying.
Wait, yeah. So you thought that the Discord broke or something because you should have heard the Discord like call leaving sound.
But I had no sound at all.
Right.
No, like something just like completely took down my. I think you leaving the call caused Discord's pipewire node to ephemerally go away.
Ooh.
And then for some reason it decided. I mean, I didn't look at the like nodes in the graph, in the audio graph. I didn't do like PW dump or anything.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what happened because everything else went away with it. And if you remember, when we started this call before we started recording, I had the call active when I had to restart everything.
I see. Okay. What I was saying before everything died is the Vim line. So it's edxvi Vim and now NeoVim. That's what I was saying before Canonical wanted to ruin me or something. I don't know.
Oh, so you're actually going with that?
Yeah, that's what we're going with. That's the story we're going
that's canon.
with. Yep,
that's
absolutely.
Canon.
So yes, edbrowse.
Yeah, edbrowse. So I was using edbrowse for a while because the web didn't really require JS or anything.
Right.
Really. Okay, you had some Flash pages, YouTube.
Sure.
And like, but I didn't really care about that too much. I would use my phone for that. I'd go on the internet because I need to look up something on Wikipedia for homework or something.
Yep.
If you're watching this, young people, don't use Wikipedia for your homework. But that's what I did. So I would go because Wikipedia was accessible because everything was navigable by headings. That was it. So I would use edbrowse, and then I switched to Firefox when I switched to Linux. And that was fine for a while. Bear in mind, I've always been a big proponent of adblock, so I've used adblock extensions for as long as I can remember, and I also use like ad blocking DNS. Because I don't like ads. Ads are like the bane of my existence. I'll get onto this in a second. In fact, you know what? I'll get onto it now because it's relevant to web stuff. Live regions. ARIA live regions. Those live regions that do this thing where this ad will stop in X seconds. They are usually programmed as assertive live regions. So they will interrupt whatever else is speaking to give you that info.
Oh.
Stop.
I'm looking at
Stop
the MDN docs right now. There's a note right near the top. Assistive technologies will generally only announce dynamic changes in the content of a live region, including an ARIA live attribute. Start with an empty live region, then in a separate step, change the content inside the region while explicitly documented the specification. Browser/assistive technologies do include special handling for role alert. In most cases, the content inside role alert regions is announced, even when the region which already contains the notification alert message is present in the initial markup of the page or injected dynamically into the page. However, note that role alert regions are depending on the specific browser/assistive technology combination, automatically prefixed with alert when they are announced.
Yes. Stop putting your ads, your dynamically loading, dynamically changing ads in alert regions. You are user hostile. You actually make the web suck. Stop doing it. I feel like this episode has been a lot of me just yelling at people to stop doing.
I think that's fair, to be honest.
Like, if you want to know what this is like, have someone shout hello in your face every 5 seconds when you're trying to read.
Right. Okay.
You'll really hate them for doing it.
Well, not only hello. Don't you want to hear about Whoppers? You want to hear a Big Mac? You want to hear a Big Mac about Whoppers? Very important. Ignore whatever you're actually focused on. Ignore the reason why you're actually on the page. No.
Yeah.
You gotta consume the ads.
The worst ones are like, I don't know if I should really go into this, but I'm going to anyway, and I guess you can edit it out. But when you're on a website, and it's one of those websites that really doesn't care what ads they serve, and you're trying to give a presentation about something, and you're on one of these websites because it happens to be like whatever it is that they're doing, like this article or whatever, happens to come up in your presentation. And you're not screen sharing because you're just reading it yourself, but you have your audio routed through so that like people can hear whatever it is you're trying to show them. And you get an ad for inappropriate content that has an alert tag. Shut up.
Okay, yeah. That's a problem. Maybe don't do that.
And when they send them as push notifications. Also bad. I'm so glad that browsers let you block push notifications now. Like, that's good. They used to not do that. Anyway, kind of irrelevant, but funny anecdote for you, though. This has happened. I have had this happen at serious talks multiple times.
Oh, that's fun. So,
back to the web question.
Yes.
You asked if it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse. Yes. But it's not just gotten worse because the web has gotten worse. It's gotten worse because the way that it was being handled in Orca and ATSPI was not very good at handling really big pages. And that's no fault of anyone's. It's just how it was, right? It just wasn't very good at handling massive pages. And so you'd end up with slowdown as your page got bigger. That is now fixed. I can browse really big pages now, and I don't have a problem. And a big part of that are WYSIWYG ads again. But because I use an ad blocker and everything, I found that I can mostly deal with the internet.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Apps that implement keyboard shortcuts properly are great. Gmail is an amazing example of this. Mastodon is another one. They have their own keyboard shortcuts, and while you need to turn off like your navigation keys function of a screen reader,
right,
to use them, they are good. I love that. Twitter was the first place I knew did it.
Okay.
But then I left Twitter for reasons.
Sure, fair.
But yeah, so I think the web has gotten harder in some cases and better in others. With improvements in web accessibility, because everything is going web-based, there's massive improvements in web accessibility coming. When web apps were just starting to really be a thing,
Right.
they were really bad, and it was really awful to use them.
Right.
That's starting to improve.
So kind of as companies sort of ditch the idea of desktop applications and do everything on the web, I guess their accessibility teams kind of move over to that as well.
Yeah, it has to improve because everything's going that. Sometimes I'll still take browsing on a phone over a computer. Because mobile sites tend to be better. I don't know why that is. I guess because there's less space for them to clutter things.
Very possible.
Like there used to be a website called basic.facebook.com.
Okay.
And then they took it away for some unknown reason. And I think they brought it back, but maybe not. I don't know. But Facebook have about 100 different ways of accessing their website, and all of them are not great. Like they're all kind of bad. For one reason or another.
I'm seeing references to something called MBasic a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's it.
Ah, okay.
MBasic. We used it on like Symbian phones and whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think the web has the web went backwards.
Right.
From when everything was just static text.
The
web went backwards from there into like embedded Flash, which was not accessible at all.
Right.
To now HTML5, which has its issues, but is significantly better, and things are being done to make it better still. I still don't like web apps. Really, I don't mind it for like Discord or whatever.
Sure.
But like my spreadsheets, not a web app. My text editor is not a web app. I'm not saying my code editor because Visual Studio Code, but like my plain text, I'm editing Markdown or something.
Yeah.
Not a web app.
What do you go to for that? Nano? Vim? Emacs?
You joke, but I used to. Emacs is a good one because Emacs Speak exists and Speech EL exists, which are both enable speech in Emacs. Emacs Speak was really good because it allowed like indicating font and attribute changes by changing the voice and the voice profile.
Okay.
Which was like a really nice way of getting that kind of info, but Emacs is super complicated. No, I just use Pluma. The Mate text editor.
Oh, okay.
I just use that because you can install it independently of the desktop because they don't make it depend on the rest of the desktop. So I just install that on basically everything. This is the thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, you should try this new software," and I'm like, "But I've had this setup that works for me."
Right.
Please leave me alone.
I did see.
I know it looks like I'm stuck in 1995, but like, it works.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was on the post itself or it was in my comment section, but I know I did see some people be like, "Hey, here's my Emacs. Here's like all these crazy different things you can do in Emacs. Emacs is amazing." Emacs people are kind of like the Nix people, where they will take any chance they can possibly get to shill how amazing their software is and why you should use it.
It's great. It was one of the first fully accessible experiences of like stuff that I actually used. Like I did use Emacs for a while. I used Emacs with Emacs Speak, and it had an email app and it had a web browser and everything. I wanted to use an actual desktop that everyone else used. Was really what it came down to. Because like Googling, why does this page not load in Emacs?
Yeah.
Good luck finding anything. And I think that's one of the things I want to be able to do is self-help. I don't want to have to email the maintainer of a thing and go, "Hey, can you test this really specific thing because it's broken?" I want to be able to look it up and go, "Oh, it's because they're doing this thing," and then I can report it straight to the project, right? Rather than ask the maintainer of whatever specialized piece of software I'm using to first try it and make sure it's not something that is broken in that software before then I can go upstream and go, "This is broken." Because there's nothing worse than being an upstream maintainer and then having someone come to you and go, "This doesn't work," and then you going, "Yeah, because you're using it in this really obscure way that I've never heard of," or like, "Yes, because you're 19 years out of date."
Right.
Report that to somebody else because I can't fix it. And that's the worst thing to say to someone. I hate saying that to people. I hate turning around to someone and going, "I can't fix your problem. Go somewhere else to get that sorted."
Yeah. But, you can't solve every problem.
No. I don't know if you saw, but like my whole thing about desktops, someone turned around and said, "Well, make your own then." And so I kind of went, "Fine, I will." Did you see that?
No, but I saw other comments being like, "Why are you complaining? Fix the code yourself." It's just like,
hold on, let me send you something in chat.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind.
Go right ahead. But it's just like
it's not inappropriate, I promise.
Okay, sure. But it's just like, yeah, if you have problems with it and like your screen reader breaks, like, like, I think people they're unable to think of how you approach a problem unless like outside of themselves. It's like they think that everybody else is capable of like doing the same things they can do.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Dinner
I
is
sent you
not
the link.
aesthetics. Stripped down accessibility fork of DWM tailored for blind users and screen reader workflows. Okay.
Someone said make it yourself.
All right then. Sure.
I got so annoyed at the do-it-yourself people. It's just like, fine. I will.
This is cool.
The commit history is awful.
Oh no. Okay.
Don't look at the...
Well, you can't tell me that now. Wait. Looks fine to me. I'm not.
The way I write commits, people are always like, "Stop writing your commits like this."
Oh, the commits.
No
themselves.
one does that anymore. What?
Oh, yeah. Wait, what do you mean no one does that anymore?
People are like, people don't write commits like long form commit messages anymore. Stop doing it.
Wait, they're complaining that you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. That
people are like, yeah, there's a couple of people who have been like, no one writes git commits like that.
Oh my god.
There was one person who sent me a DM that basically said, "Who are you, Linus?"
I don't know. Look at like the GNOME project. They do fairly long commit messages. Look at
I just feel like, and I don't remember where this message was, but literally someone was like, "Who are you, Linus?" It was in one of the Discord servers because someone asked me like, I'm in a couple of the Discord servers and my post gained traction in one of them, and someone looked at my Discord profile and like found that I was like linked to this, and they're like, "So what are you doing about it?" And I sent that. Like, here's what I'm doing about it. Like, I'm just making my own experience because...
That reminds me of something. So, I did see a comment on my video where someone was like, "Oh, why is he just whining about... Like, why is he just complaining about not fixing it?"
Is this when I was fixing the out-of-memory bug?
Yes, it was literally the moment you sent me that message. And he was also like, "Oh, so I have a friend of mine who... now works for the KDEV doing accessibility stuff."
Oh, I saw your podcast on that.
Yeah.
Because I gotta be honest with you, I followed your channel and your podcasts for like ages. Anyway, and I did not expect you to actually make a video about like my stuff. I just kind of went, "Oh, this is coincidental," because like I didn't click on your video right away. I was like, "Huh, this is a weird title."
Right.
And then I clicked on it and was like, "What? What?"
I do a video on part 2 as well coming out.
Oh,
soon.
Do you? Cool.
Soon.
Awesome.
I forgot. I was gonna do it last week, and then I got sidetracked, and I didn't do it last week. And you haven't released part 3 yet, so it's still the latest one of the numbered series. So I'm still I'm not late.
Yeah. No. Well, no, it's not. The interlude is the latest one.
Okay, but like the interlude's not numbered, so
okay.
I'll take it as
Fair
a win.
enough. Take the W. All right.
But yeah, he was like, why is this like? Because he's like, you've watched the episode. For anyone who hasn't, he's a game dev, does indie stuff. He was like, why is this whiny game dev complaining about or thinking it's so special that he does he works on a game while blind, and it's just like he's literally employed by the KDE EV now to work on this problem. Like he's not just complaining about the problem that exists.
The stuff that he has done is amazing, by the way. I'm one of those terrifying people. I run my desktop environments from Git. Because, especially if I'm reporting issues, right?
Sure.
I'm going to specify this right now.
Fair.
If I'm reporting issues to a project, I'm running the Git version of the project.
Yeah. When I mess around with Cosmic, I do the same thing.
Yeah. I run the Git version of whatever it is. The changes that has been made to Kwin and some of the KDE applications, great stuff. It's still not perfect yet. But I am so happy they hired someone to do this.
You have someone I think the problem that you have with any sort of approach to this problem is most of the people working on the problem are not. Well, they might be dog fooding it for the purpose of testing, but they're not people who directly rely on it. So if if I was writing a screen reader, if a screen reader breaks, I can fix that fairly easily. But if you're in a situation where you require it, that's a whole different level of ensuring that things don't break.
And sure, people can use OCR to help you fix it.
Sure.
But not all situations lend themselves to that.
Yeah, assuming there's an error message.
Yeah, and also assuming you have a screen, because this is what my primary computer is.
What is that? Okay.
This is what I use.
It's a key.
It has no screen at all.
Oh, it's like a keyboard attached to what?
No, it's literally the computer is in the keyboard.
Oh, what is that?
It's called the Luna. It was a Kickstarter project, and I backed it because I was like, this is the coolest thing. And I was like, I want to know if this runs Linux. And it basically is exactly what I need in a computer. It has a keyboard, and it has ports, and it has a battery. And it goes really tiny, so I can put it in a pocket. I don't want anything else.
That is really cool. Oh my god, they had a tiny goal, and they...
Yeah.
Wow!
They smashed it. There's some controversy at the moment because some backers didn't get their units.
I've never seen a Kickstarter where that doesn't happen.
I got both of mine. So, yeah, I feel bad for the people who didn't get, but also, this is such a cool project.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they get all that stuff sorted out.
I had to get at least one. And then I had to get two, because I was like, I'm going to probably rely on one of these things, and then I'm going to want to do dev work on another one.
Well, clearly they made a product, right? It's not like... There's been plenty of Kickstarters where, they don't finish things, they don't get production ready, things don't get shipped out. There's clearly a real thing here. So hopefully they can get all those issues sorted out with people not getting the stuff when they're supposed to get them.
It's designed for VR use cases where someone's plugging in VR glasses.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's not designed for blind users. It's designed for people who want to plug in VR glasses and whatever. And I kind of went, yeah, but what if?
That's that actually makes a lot of sense. But no, that is a really cool device. Because this is taking the mini PC to the as extreme as you can go.
Yeah, it is. Before that, I used a MacBook, and I've always had this thing with laptops. I've always had this thing with minimalism. The more minimal thing I can carry, the better.
Right.
That does what I need it to do. Now, if something is really small, but I can't, I can't run full Linux on it. No, doesn't work for me. Sorry. I would say a Raspberry Pi is usable. I've done it. There's a project for the blind that is a Raspberry Pi with a Braille keyboard, essentially. It's a CM4 with a Braille keyboard on it. And I've used that, and I like that, and I've contributed code to that. but sometimes I want to compile something that doesn't take 6 hours.
Fair enough.
I want to compile the kernel in less than a day. Come on.
Right. I can understand that.
So yeah, but this isn't me trying to show the product or anything. I promise. It's me saying this is what I use, and so OCR doesn't help me because I don't already have a screen.
Right.
And so while it works most of the time, like if I have a screen, I can take a picture of it and I can go, oh well, there is no error. But like, what if I press Alt F2? Okay, that's brought up a box. Maybe I can type orca -- replace -- debug, and even if it crashes, there'll be a debug out file on the desktop. So then I can drop to a console and read the debug file. Right.
One thing I hadn't really thought of until I had like read your posts. So, you know how like back in the early 2000s, it was quite common for Linux desktops, like how Windows has, to just have noises just happen. It's like you click something, a noise happens. You log in, a noise happens.
I still have it like that.
Right, but it's not like the standard.
No.
And like
knowing when something has become disconnected is really helpful.
Like this is
like all of my like. Sorry, go on.
No, go on. I was just gonna
all of my login and log out sounds and like my device disconnect sounds go through ALSA. Only ALSA. Because then I at least know when something is happening.
Right.
My speech doesn't, because ALSA and speech don't play nice sometimes. There's a few different reasons for that. Maybe it's. I had a lot of people in the comments of the second post and in my DMs like, yeah, you can use ALSA with demix and add hot plugging support by adding a dozen UDEV rules. And I was like, yeah, I know. But that's I'm too old for that.
Right.
Now. When I use my computer to get work done, I value my time.
Right.
So yeah, no. I mean, I have my speech go through Pipewire, but I have my like what I call emergency sounds, right?
Okay.
Of like, are things starting properly? Am I able to still switch windows? I have a sound for when I switch windows, which people would be like, oh my god, that'd be so horrible. But I need to at least know if my screen is changing.
Right.
If I press Alt F2 and I hear a bleep, I know that my screen changed to something else.
Right, like if there is a sound, at the bare minimum, you know you haven't kernel panicked yet.
Yet is the like big thing there is yet.
Like you can put your foot near your PC, you can tell that it's turned on. Like that's not an issue. You can hear that, but like, or like if
the biggest annoyance is like boot prompts, like UEFI shells. When you drop into a UEFI shell because something broke.
Oh.
Because there's no way of a lot of these laptops, especially, are really quiet when they turn on. Apple do one thing very much right. MacBooks are really obnoxious when they turn on.
Well, get a gaming laptop.
Thank
That'll
you,
solve
Apple,
the problem.
for making your laptops obnoxious. No, like they make like this whole like really bassy chime noise at like basically close to full volume.
Okay.
So like if you reboot in the middle of the night, you're gonna wake everybody up. But at the same time, I know when it's turning on.
Right.
They took it away for like 4 years and people complained so much. Like from 2016 to 2019, you didn't have the chime and everyone was like, but why? That's why actually my M1 Mac is one of my favorite Linux machines. Because it's Asahi is so specifically built. Asahi, however you say it, I don't know.
Asahi, that's Asahi.
Asahi, whatever.
It's a Japanese word. You're not pronouncing it correctly anyway. It doesn't matter. Just say it. Say however.
Someone did tell me how to pronounce it right once, and I was like, okay, I'm never remembering this ever. Which I feel bad about, but hey ho. I that is so tailored for those machines that it basically never fails. I've never lost audio on Asahi since they added it. Before they added it, and like speaker support was experimental, And like they were all like, "Yeah, you might blow your speakers up." I was like, "Yeah, but I want it anyway."
I do remember this, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Using this might blow your speakers up," and then I was like, "Yeah, but what if?" Um,
The project's come a really long way. I am like
it
genuinely
has.
impressed, like how
So am I.
how much has been done here.
So I was using it before they had sound support, or just with the headphone jack. They used to
Mm,
had headphone audio,
mm.
but they also did have USB-C audio,
Okay.
because they had USB-C ports working, and so USB-C sound worked.
Mm,
Kind of ish. There were some problems,
mm.
but since they had sound working, I've never had it break.
That's good.
It's just stable and just works.
Mm.
And I don't know whether that's because of them, because of the fact that they decide what sound configuration is, and they don't have all the baggage of like another distribution having made that choice 10 years ago and then
Right.
sticking to it.
Well, it also has the advantage of being a much smaller set of hardware.
Yeah.
So you can like make sure like it's the Apple device. There's like a few versions of them. You just
This
need to
is
make
how
sure
this
things work
works.
on them.
Yeah. So that's been an amazing experience using that. I've really enjoyed using it. I can't use it primarily as my primary setup because some stuff just isn't ARM64.
Yeah, that's fair.
DistroBox helps with this a lot because you can run x64 DistroBoxes, and that helps. But emulation,
right.
is not great.
So, oh yeah, sorry,
yeah, sorry, got sidetracked.
No, it's all good. I was gonna take us down a different path if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so as we're moving into this sort of direction of Wayland, what is like the? Because you'll definitely see a lot of people talk about like how X11 is perfect for their setup. X11's amazing. It's for a bunch of different reasons, but like from your perspective, like where is X11? Like, how does it generally feel? And how is the state of things on the big desktops on Wayland right now?
I have one option for a desktop on Wayland, and that's GNOME.
Okay.
Everything else, broken in some fundamental way.
Okay.
If I had a number pad, it would be less of a problem because Orca's desktop layout is kind of more supported somehow. I don't know. But I don't. I use a laptop. My Orca key is the caps lock key. Every time I try and do an Orca command, first of all, my caps lock toggles.
Okay.
So figuring out what state my caps lock key is in is great because it doesn't say caps lock on or caps lock off. It just says caps lock. Thanks. Really helpful. Love that. And if I use like the flat review keys to like review text in a window that isn't scrollable by default, like I can't just use the arrow keys to scroll, like a terminal output, for example. You press your arrow keys and it scrolls you through your command history. But I need to review like 5 lines ago. I've got to press caps lock U a few times. What happens every time I press U? It'll navigate me up a line, but then it'll insert a U in the terminal. And every time you insert a letter in the terminal, it dumps you back to the bottom.
Right, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's over like I can just hit it 5 times and then be like, okay, entered 5 U's in different states of caps lock. I maybe KDE is better now. I don't honestly know. It's been a while since I tested it. But I will. Cosmic has this problem. Anything based on WL roots has this problem. I was really excited when the project that I used, there's a project called i38 that makes i3 accessible.
i38, okay.
And it like generates an accessible config. And I was really excited when that project got Sway support. So I was like, oh, I can use this now? Cool, let me go do that. And I was like, oh wait, no, I can't. Never mind.
I'm not able to find this. You said i38, yes?
Yeah, here I can link you.
Yeah, if you could do that, would be awesome. Because my search engine's just trying to correct me to i3, which is not helpful.
It's probably not very easy to find.
It's not exactly the best name for SEO. Oh, and it's not on GitHub. Okay, that makes...
Yeah, no, it's not on GitHub. It used to be on GitLab.
That took me to a 404 page.
Oh,
Or...
because I that was my fault. Hold on.
Okay.
I linked you to the old URL.
Oh. Okay, that'll do it.
That one.
Ah. Okay, thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, this is the project.
Okay.
It generates accessible i3 configs. Amazing project, also amazing maintainer. They made audio games, like accessible games for the blind, also work on Linux through like an audio game manager thing, like sets up sandboxed wine installs, which is awesome. Basically like Proton, but for accessible games. It's great. I love it.
Okay, that's cool.
Different problem entirely, different thing, but it's great. So yeah, that's what I used, and then they got Sway support, and I was like, I can use this now. I can switch to Sway. I can stop having this window focused grabbed problem that I've been having forever.
For anyone who hasn't read the post, can you just briefly explain that?
So in Orca 47, there was a massive rewrite to how events were handled, and i3 has this bug where it doesn't set window focus properly. And so every time you issue a keyboard command, the window that is supposed to be in focus issues a grabbed event. And in order to improve accessibility to some other systems, they made it so that when window grabbed events are issued, Orca will announce them. And it will announce that you're in that application and where you are in that application. Like, for example, it will say Thunderbird inbox.
Right.
If I'm arrowing through my email messages, every time I hit an arrow key to go to the next email message, I don't hear my email message. I get Thunderbird inbox.
Oh.
Because it window grabbed. And then I get my email.
Oh, okay.
And it's a longer announcement than Thunderbird inbox. It's like Thunderbird inbox tab internal frame something really verbose.
Okay. Right.
I couldn't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head because I kind of just block it out at this point. Like I just block it out. Because I don't want to deal with it.
Fair. Understandable.
But that's an issue, and I was like, I can finally switch to Sway, which doesn't have this problem. Amazing. And I tried it, and my dreams were shattered.
Oh.
Because I couldn't use it.
What is the problem on Sway?
The same thing as with everything else is that there's no global shortcuts handling. There's no dbus API for handling global keybinds.
Yeah.
This is a fundamental flaw with Wayland. With every compositor being built from protocols, why is there no protocol for this? Why is this not a protocol in Wayland already?
So
I understand that like it was proposed a dozen times, global shortcut portal and this and that. Global shortcut portal doesn't solve my problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to click allow every time I need to issue a command.
Yeah.
That's not helpful. Doesn't help me.
So yeah, this is a fundament. I fully agree with you here. Like this is just a problem. This is a fundamental issue with the approach that's been taken to Wayland development. Wayland has put, at least traditionally, things have changed for a lot of things, not for this yet. Put the idea of security ahead of everything else. And that's sort of the situation that's caused this, because a lot of the core Wayland people do not want anything like this to exist without there to be access controls on it. Which
is fine.
Sure.
I don't mind access controls. Look, even if I have to go in and change a deconf setting that's like org.freedesktop. I don't care about your security.
Right.
I don't care what the path to the setting is. Give me a setting I can change.
Yeah.
Let me. Linux is all about freedom. Right? Linux is all about the user is free to decide what the user wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone agrees on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's my freedom to just say, do you know what? I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, it's at the bare minimum, at least there is this thing on KDE, and Cosmic has it as well now, where for X11 applications you can just ignore that and let it listen in on your keyboard.
Not
But
on a
it
screen
doesn't
reader in
help the
X11
Wayland
mode,
apps.
though. If you try and run the screen, I've tried this. I've tried running Orca under X Wayland because obviously I was like, well, wonder if I can just do this.
Right.
Did try it. There's a library, and I'm not going to say what the library name is. I'm going to spell it out because I have no idea how you would say it without being rude.
Okay.
It's one of those named libraries that I don't think anyone really thought about why it was named this way, or maybe they did and just didn't care. There's a library that it uses for capturing flat review, and it is used to be or might still be a hard dependency, and it doesn't work in Wayland at all. It's called libwnk3. Understand why? I think you see the problem here, right?
Yeah. Wait. Lib.
LIB. I think that's how you spell it.
WNK3. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, I'm not finding it.
I think that's how you spell it.
Yeah, it's not showing.
It might have another letter in it.
Okay.
Oh, I found it.
Oh.
Lib WNCK. C.
WN.
Still problematic naming.
Okay.
Oh no. But it was a hard dependency of Orca for a while, and it's required for Xorg. Doesn't work in Wayland.
It's the window navigator construction kit. Ah, yes, for sure.
It got a specific nickname between me and my partner when it was really broken, and like I was trying to get Orca to launch even without flat review, and it was like, need this dependency, install that dependency, can't launch because this doesn't work. So we gave it a nickname. I'm sure you use your imagination as to what we called it. But it was a dependency. Then it was made a soft dependency, so then it was like a recommended. Cool. That meant I could launch it under Wayland. Awesome. Love that. But I still couldn't launch it under X Wayland.
Right.
Because it needs to read every window, and X Wayland stuff still can't see other applications that are running in Wayland only mode. And if I'm gonna run everything under X Wayland, I may as well just not bother.
Yeah, it's actually
like at that point, I may as well just use Xorg, right?
Right.
And so this is a problem with Wayland, because every single compositor has to implement this dbus API, or like whatever patching was done in Mutter to make this work. And I raised an issue. There was an accessibility issue on the Cosmic GitHub, and I messaged in it a couple of days ago and was like, so what's the progress with this? And they like pointed me to a pull request where they're working on it and all this stuff. And so awesome, thank you.
Okay.
That's awesome. I love that. But I don't think that WL roots is, and maybe that's like people can say, oh, well, why didn't you report it or whatever. And I guess I am going to provide a reason for that right now. Burnout.
Fair.
Like, how many bugs do I have to report?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Just use my system. I'm just going to go back to the thing that works because it works. I'm genuinely worried that Xorg is going to get removed from repositories. It's going to happen, and I don't like it. I'm not ready for it.
It will be in repositories. It will be removed. It is 100% being removed from Fedora soon.
That's fine. Fedora use GNOME primarily. I can use that. I'm happy with that. That's fine.
Well, okay, Fedora's a weird...
Do that.
I say soon, but Fedora's a weird case. I know Ubuntu... There are definitely some Ubuntu people that have talked about it. But it's always, it's always going to be on Arch, right? Like, it's always going to be on Gentoo. It's always going to be, like...
Maybe the thing is move to Linux from scratch. Build everything yourself, and then no one has to tell you to change.
Or like Debian, right? Like it's gonna take Debian Debian has some window managers from the 90s that haven't been updated in 27 years. So they're gonna hold it basically until it stops compiling.
Yeah, which great. I love that. But also I don't like being on the back foot of hardware.
Right.
I like new hardware.
Mm.
I like to play games.
Mm.
Sometimes I have to boot into Windows to make those games accessible. Sorry, Linux people. Have to. Flight Simulation is a good example of that. Have to use Windows for that. So I don't like being on the back foot of hardware, and so eventually Xorg is going to stop working on my hardware, and I'm just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah,
I'm not ready yet.
Do
you know what is kind of funny to me?
Mm.
When Mer was its own thing,
it
didn't have this problem.
Uh-huh.
This was not a problem.
All right.
So I've slagged off Canonical for the past couple hours. But when they were actively working on that, I mean, okay, maybe it would have broken down the line, or maybe there was some edge case that was somehow being enabled or whatever. I don't know. I didn't know as much as I do now about all of this, right? I was just kind of using it. But it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Wayland has this issue for as long as I've known that it existed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a problem.
Right.
Just make an XDG protocol for it. I know I just say just like it's the easy thing in the world. I know it's not. Okay, I followed enough Wayland threads to know how they go.
Yeah, so have I.
I've spoken to enough maintainers of big projects to know that getting anything implemented takes a long time. And will probably result in someone sending you less than stellar messages.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who's watched your videos knows that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also know this from just having followed them myself and kind of gone, oh.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh my god. So yeah, but I think there needs to be a compositor agnostic solution to this problem. Every compositor should not have to implement this in their own weird way that then maybe will be supported by some tools, maybe won't.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I use a lot is XDO tool or XDO tool.
Yes.
That's never coming to Wayland.
Very so I did want to ask you about what do you actually, so do you just use it for window management or keyboard inputs? What do you actually use it for? What specifically?
Sometimes navigating inaccessible applications.
Right. Because
XDO tool is really powerful and can do a lot of things, including mouse stuff.
Yeah, this is again one of those things where I understand why it's like this on Wayland. From a security perspective, it makes sense to not let random non-root software pretend to be a keyboard. At the same time, though, not having something to do that is really annoying.
For example, let's take the OCR one, for example. And this isn't something I released because I'm not comfortable releasing it because it's kind of clunky and broken. And it works with a very specific set of dependencies. And
sure.
If one of them is slightly out of version, it's going to fall over and you're going to lose access to your system. But I have an OCR solution that lets me OCR a window. It will extract text content from that window I can then navigate to any of the text. Let's say it's an installer and there's a next button.
Mm-hmm.
I can navigate to where that button is, press enter,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a hash table that maps all of the text elements to their mouse coordinates, and the XDO tool will go and click that spot.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
So then I can get through that. And there's a project that does OCR already called OCR Desktop, which is what I based it off.
Right.
But that just dumps the text into a text window, and that's great. No shade to those that project maintainers at all. Thank you for making it. It's saved me many times when I haven't been able to see some output. But I needed something that could send mouse events. So I made a thing that lets me do that sometimes when it isn't falling over because some dependency updated. But there's no way for me to do that in Wayland. So if something's not accessible, I'm calling someone for help?
Right.
No.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
This sort of this goes back into a lot of the main issues that exist with the accessibility problem, where the people developing the software most of the time are not people who need these things to work. And I've seen people bring up very valid... honestly, I think the only use cases actually can get through to people, because I can bring up tons of use cases for things like this, and tons of use cases for global hotkeys, but I honestly think the only use case is going to get through to certain people on certain desktops who will remain unnamed because they cause problems in Wayland discussions quite often. They know who they are.
Who you're talking about.
They know who they are. Yeah. Honestly, I think the only thing that will actually make a protocol like this happen is the accessibility argument.
I don't think it will.
It's the only thing that has a chance.
And that's me talking very cynically, right? I'd love them to prove me wrong. You know what? I would love someone. This is the only time I'm gonna actively challenge someone. Come out and tell me I'm wrong to my face. Because this has been brought up in so many different ways, and it got to the point where GNOME had to do it themselves. They had to get the sovereign fund. They had to contract a guy to start working on it, and then someone else had to finish that implementation. Because no one else was interested, I guess, is the only way I can put it. Because that's what it looks like. Maybe there was somebody interested. If you were interested, you weren't speaking up about it.
Yeah.
You weren't saying, hey, I want this to work. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about this at DebConf? Can we talk about this somewhere? Even if it's not in a GitHub issue or a GitLab issue, because keyboard warriors are a thing. You know who you are. And they can get pretty nasty. But if you talk to someone face-to-face and say, this is something I want to propose, here's why I want to propose it. Sure, they can cut you off mid-sentence, but you can just shout louder. So that that's a thing. And but if that was done, I don't know about it because no one ever publicly said that they'd done that. Be proud of the accessibility work that you do. Maybe I should have saved that phrase for the end, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say it here right now. Be proud of the accessibility work you do. If you're working on accessibility, I want to hear about it. I want to know what you're doing, even if it's not for the blind, even if it's for the hard of hearing, or it's for people with motor issues, or it's for people with cognitive issues that have a hard time with focus or memory or whatever it is. I want to hear about it. Accessibility work should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Not put on a shelf somewhere to rot.
Yeah. I am glad that we are seeing desktops take this problem really seriously now. And even if things aren't in the state you would like them to be in, at least
they're
people
still better than they were a year ago.
Yeah, at least people are discussing the problem now. And
Exactly.
People are acknowledging that this is an issue and this is something that needs to be addressed. And even if things that should be in place are not there, this is why I at least have some hope for some of these problems to be addressed, even if you might be cynical about them. The fact
I'm only cynical because I've been dealing with this for a while.
Right. No, right? I get it. I totally get it. But like that's the only reason I there's a lot of things I don't have hope for. But the fact that people are taking accessibility so seriously, and we're seeing, like the Sovereign Tech Fund stuff, like we're seeing with, my friend being hired to do accessibility work. Like, we're actually seeing people try to do something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what actually gave me massive hope was how far this post reached.
Mm.
How many people reached out and were like, where are we failing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They didn't reach out and say, oh, we're doing great. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They reached out and said, what doesn't work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the problems? That was really big. And to everyone who has reached out, you know who you are. Amazing. I'm working with you as fast as I can.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few. And to anyone who hasn't, I don't think I'm that scary. Yeah, I might rant sometimes. But I feel like I can work with people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to work on this and you want someone to tell you without sugarcoating it where the problems are,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people who have my info that you can ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could even link it in the podcast description to my Mastodon or something.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. I was going to say, linking your Mastodon will be fine. I generally avoid, linking emails because of,
No, I wasn't saying, link my email, but, I'd check my Mastodon DMs.
Okay.
So, maybe something like that.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Just reach out and, come and ask me stuff. Even if you're not a project maintainer yet, and you're even if you're not a project maintainer at all, and you just care about this, and want to know how you can test against it, right? Because the more test cases we have, even if people aren't actively, even if it's people that don't actively use it, sometimes it doesn't take a lot of testing to notice, oh, this is broken. Let me give you an example. The Flatpak GNOME web app, whatever it's called. Epiphany, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Is it Epiphany?
Yeah, sounds about right.
When that mayor's made a Flatpak, it would have taken all of 2 seconds for someone to open it and press tab and go, huh, doesn't work. And that's now fixed. They've updated WebKit GTK, and that now works. And maybe that was coming for a while. Maybe that rewrite took a bit. But I didn't read anywhere of anyone going, oh, that's broken. That's, even if you don't actively use it all the time, just every now and then turn it on in an app that you use.
Yeah.
And try and use that app with a keyboard. Try and tab through the interface, or try and use the arrow keys. Do something that you would expect to work. And if it doesn't work, it's probably broken.
Right.
For example, your Cosmic streams. I'm not calling you out because you do them or anything. I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't do that.
Sure.
But maybe turn on Orca and just press the super key and see if you can read the thing.
So I've actually been running out of I have been running out of things that are broken that I use in Cosmic.
Well, this is a good one.
Yeah, because so in my early Cosmic streams, I would drag a window and Cosmic would just die, which was not great. My favorite one. People have pointed out in my streams. I have 48 gigabytes of swap.
Yay, welcome to the club of massive swap.
Yeah, so there was a time where I noticed my cursor was lagging a bit, and I run NeoFetch. So when I open up my terminal, I noticed I was using all of my swap and I think 30 gigs of RAM. It's like, that's a problem.
Page top time.
There was some sort of memory allocation issue in Cosmic at the time, and it was not clearing out old memory that it didn't need anymore. So
there's a couple of those bugs in Dina as well. There's a memory leak that I noticed the other day that I haven't got around to fixing yet.
Yeah, memory leaks are fun.
Memory leaks are great, especially when you don't know where they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if you like, try the screen reader. Try even things like sticky keys. Where you press the modifier and it holds the modifier, and then you press another button so that you don't have to. If you have text, yes,
is that what sticky keys is?
Yeah, it doesn't just make your keyboard go sticky. That's not what it does.
Well, no, on Windows, you press the shift key and it was like, do you want to enable sticky keys? Go away. What is this?
No, that's what that does. So basically, if you want to press, say, Alt and F4, you would press Alt, let go, and then press F4, rather than have to hold keys.
Oh.
Really useful feature if you have, half-sized keyboards that don't have any keys on them.
Right.
People who make, 35% keyboards that don't have number rows or function keys, and using the arrow keys requires holding FN and using JKL.
Yeah.
You know the kinds of keyboards I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, I'm well aware. I use a normal keyboard. It's just a 10 keyless. Nothing that crazy.
I just use laptop keyboards. I don't like number pads. Mm-hmm. My number pad. The one time I had a number pad, I turned it into an exclusive calculator.
Last time I had a number pad, I used it as a macro bank.
Yeah, I just use mine as a calculator. So, funny story. Do you want a funny story? I don't know if it's the right place, but I was really bad at maths in school. But they let me use my Linux machine for some stuff.
Okay.
Maths was one of them because I had a workflow that I could kind of do, and I was not a fan of using Braille on paper because it was really clunky for me, and I just liked my laptop. They let me use my Linux machine for this. My calculator didn't draw anything on screen and just spoke.
Okay.
With my numpad. So I could use my numpad calculator to do the sums, and no one had any idea because it wasn't drawing anything on screen. It was just a background process that intercepted those keys. Not saying that you should do it, but
well, look, people are cheating in school with ChatGPT, so that would be, that would be.
I feel like this is pretty tame compared to that.
So you brought up Braille there. I don't think we can end this without talking about the Braille displays, because this is a piece of hardware that I think is really, really cool, but I have no idea how they work.
So the way that they commonly work. Is you have
raise up
your
just
keys.
a little
this
bit
one
more.
Has a lot.
Yep.
This one has a lot more keys than the usual one does, because I have arrow keys on. It has arrow keys and function keys and all kinds of other stuff, and home and end and everything, because it's designed to be used with a computer. Most of them, that's an add-on feature. They're designed to be used as really simple note-taking devices. This one is not.
What is your specific one? I'll bring up a picture of it. So
it's called a Q Braille XL. It's the one that I use.
Q Braille.
Don't look at the pricing for them.
Yeah, I know they're
astronomically bad.
Yeah.
I used to have one back in the early 2010s, and I think it cost about $6,000 at the time.
Well, they're cheaper now.
Not those ones. Look up, the one I had was the Braille Note. Look up the Braille Note Touch. Look at the price on that.
Oh, okay.
This is running 10-year-old hardware, by the way. It runs Android 8.
Oh.
Go look at the price for that.
Okay. Okay, that website. Here we go. Store.
Humanware is the website.
Yes. They're doing a special right now. They just lowered the price. It's only $4,800.
Only. For a device that runs Android 8, guys. It's not even supported by G Suite anymore. You can't load Google Docs.
That's incredible.
And they expect people to buy this.
That is amazing.
It's bad, is what that is.
Yeah, that's...
Actually, that should be criminal.
Mm-hmm. There's no reason for it to be running that. Wait, does Oh, wait, does the QBraille Touch have...
The QBraille doesn't.
It has a USB-C port.
Yeah.
Wow, it's from the current decade.
Yeah. The previous one I have, the Focus, which is a 14-cell one that I carry around in my pocket, it has micro B. But that's an older display, in all fairness.
Okay.
That probably isn't from the current decade. But anyway, the way that these work is you connect them to the computer via USB or Bluetooth, and realistically, you should just have Braille output on the single line of Braille.
Yes.
Linux console has really good support for this. BRLTTY. It's amazing. It's kind of old at this point. It expects a frame buffer. It eats ports. You have a Braille display connected, plug in anything else. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get it detected.
Right.
Unless you write a UDEV rule.
Right.
That's not their fault. That's just because it enumerates ports alphabetically, and so if you connect it to a port that it's enumerated over, and decided it once for some reason before it reached the Braille display. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it binds to the wrong thing. Sometimes it decides like TTYAC0 is close enough to TTYS0, and good luck.
So
at that point,
with the actual the Braille part of it, does that does that just take the current text that's shown? Like how does that work?
It takes whatever is in. There's a thing called the Braille focus, and so it takes whatever the current line is in the Braille focus, so you can navigate between lines very easily.
Right.
And it's great, and it works great in a console if you're using American English Braille.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were different kinds of English Braille.
There's a lot of different kinds of Braille. There's standard English Braille, which actually wasn't standard at all. The Americans just decided to call it standard because they were like, ours, it's normal, right?
Right.
No. Standard English Braille. Then there was UK English, uncontracted. UK English contracted, UK English Computer 6 dot, UK English Computer 8 dot, UK 2004, which was a different thing entirely.
Okay.
Because for some reason we decided to change it for a year, and then
this sounds very
now we're on Unified English Braille.
This sounds very similar to the situation that sign language has, where there's 7 different English versions because that's very convenient.
Yeah, I do just love that the Americans called theirs standard English.
That's because America's the center of the world. What do you mean?
And then everyone else went, no, we're not using that.
Hey, at least with sign language, they have the honesty to call it American Sign Language. So there's at least, at least on that side, they're not going to be as cocky about it.
Yeah, just standard English Braille.
Yeah.
Thanks, America. A lot of places don't call it that anymore. A lot of places now call it US.
Okay.
Because a lot of manufacturers kind of realized this isn't the standard.
Yeah. Okay. So, what issues does it have if you're not doing that, then?
Sometimes the dot mappings can be weird. For example, if I type the dots 1, 4, 5, and 6, I might get 2, 3, and 8 because some translation went wrong somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And this is especially noticeable when using contracted Braille. So contracted Braille, if you don't know, it lets, because Braille is bigger than print and you only have a certain amount of characters, sometimes it's better to shorten a word.
Right.
So for example, the word can is just the letter C with a space on either side of it.
Okay.
If you type the letter C with a space, you're going to put the word can in a document.
Okay.
And if those translation tables are not exactly right and don't exactly follow the rules, you're going to have breakage somewhere. And that's not BRLTTY's fault. It's not even the fault of the people making the translation tables, making that very clear right now. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Braille translation tables from Spanish to French, German, Chinese, Korean. Chinese Braille is a trip. Anyway, that's a whole other thing in itself. I don't want to touch that. But sometimes it will just spit out garbage stuff.
Right.
Or sometimes you'll boot into a graphical session and all you'll see on your Braille display is screen not in text mode. Yes. I know. I want to read the graphical session, please.
Uh-huh.
And you need a whole bunch of things installed. You need BRLTTY, you need X-Braille API. I actually don't even know how well it works on Wayland because Wayland annoyed me that much I just never tried it. I'm guessing it will work now because Orca works, but like maybe... so the Braille displays have these things called routing keys over each of the cells, and you can use them to jump the cursor to a certain point in a document. Bet you that doesn't work under Wayland. Never tried it, but it doesn't.
So... Okay, this isn't... Red Hat has a page in their documentation about it. How well it works, I don't know, but they at least explain how to get it to work.
Yeah, they do. I really appreciate the fact that they actually put the time into making that. Like I'm specifically calling out that I haven't tested it because I don't want to say it doesn't work.
Right, fair.
Right? I want to use my computer.
Right.
I don't want to play Debug Simulator when I don't have to.
Yeah, no,
I have to do it a lot of the time. I'm not going to introduce problems.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't want to add more problems to my already really problematic install. Because it already breaks every day. In some weird way. What was yesterday's problem, for example, was a glorious one.
Oh.
My Alt key didn't work.
Oh.
At all.
That's fun. Why?
Everything else worked. My Alt key didn't work. I don't know. It was sending some garbage key code. That, like, was just being discarded.
So, honest question. When you have a problem, how often, when you know you don't have any work that's unsaved, do you just turn your computer off and turn it back on?
I like pain, so I try and avoid doing it.
I see. Okay.
I like fixing it.
Okay.
Like, every kernel update is kexec. Kexec. Mostly because turning everything off and on again scares me because I wonder what's going to be broken the next time. Like, if it's not a problem I really care about, I'm just like, I'm going to deal with this.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
But no, if, in all seriousness, I will sometimes just... I'll turn it off and on again and I'll fix it.
Yeah. I'll
probably do that less than I do on Windows. Let's be fair. Windows, that's basically my only recourse because... Documentation? What's that?
Yeah.
At least the Arch Wiki has a lot of troubleshooting steps that I can try.
You mentioned you got the new post about the audio stacks, and there's I have a very recurring problem with Pipewire that I still don't know how to fix, and my solution is just reboot the system. So when I'm playing,
I bet you I've dealt with it.
I don't think you have. So maybe in some other context. So I use a capture card for capturing my console gameplay, and when I unplug it, sometimes Pipewire just dies. I reboot Pipewire, and it doesn't come back.
I've seen that.
Okay.
Every time I unplug like my HDMI, because I have a soundbar that I like, and so sometimes I use that for speaker output on my computer when I'm not using it to watch TV. Because I don't want to have to wear headphones all the time. Sorry to the neighbors, but I don't.
Right.
I don't want to sit here with earbuds in all the time. And every time I unplug that HDMI thing, Pipewire just dies. I don't know what the solution is to it yet. The best way I've found to actually solve it is there is a way to run Pipewire in system mode, like there was with Pulse. That seems to work around it. Running it in system mode. I don't know whether it's like... I wonder if it's something to do with hot plugging displays. Especially...
You can probably still hear me, but Discord's done this fun thing again. Give me a second.
I can maybe hear you now.
Yeah. So Discord likes to do this thing where I don't actually disconnect from the call, but
it just drops your sound.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're at 5,000 milliseconds ping, and the other person can oftentimes still hear me because that's great. I don't know if you could hear. Could you hear me still?
I could. I heard you say.
The exact same
where did you get to?
You were talking about could be related to monitor hot plugging.
It could be, yeah, if you're plugging your HDMI capture card, if you're using an HDMI capture card or plugging something into your GPU that constantly exposes the ports. This is a problem I've encountered a lot, is like certain GPUs will constantly expose their HDMI ports as audio devices, and so then trying to get, it will like default to them. But then sometimes those ports are always exposed, and then even if they're not active, and then sometimes you hot plug a thing into them and then back out of them, and the nodes disappear and reappear, and Pipewire has no idea what to do with it.
Okay.
Now, again, I'm not a Pipewire maintainer. I've never touched the Pipewire or Wire Plumber code base in my life. The only time I've ever done anything with it, even remotely like that, was because I wanted speech at the console, and I had to patch it to make that work. And thanks to my blog post, actually, I learned that there's now a better way of doing that.
Oh, nice.
So I don't have to keep applying my git diff every time I upgrade Pipewire. I should just really use Gentoo at this point. I really should just use Gentoo.
Can't be that hard. You're already doing the whole Bedrock thing.
That is a whole different thing in itself. Oh my god. That breaks... okay, no shade to the Bedrock maintainer. Passing speech dispatcher config so that I can use a different version of Orca without it trying to read the one from the distro was hell on earth, because it can't pass directories. You have to pass direct config files. So I had to go through and figure out what exact config files it was loading.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And yes, there is an option to pass directories. That option exists, and that does work in a lot of cases. Didn't work in this one. Why? Don't know. I think because it doesn't pass the contents of subdirectories.
Oh.
So, like, maybe I just need to pass all the subdirectories. But I got it working now, and so I don't care anymore. I got it to work. That's all I care about.
That seems to be a common trend for you. Doesn't work, don't know.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, am I expected to know every, like, level of the stack?
Right.
Like, I shouldn't need to know how config files are read from Fuse file systems to use my computer.
Yeah.
And Bedrock is awesome, right? It works surprisingly well for what it does. It let me do some really cool things. I get to use Void's run it with Arch's kernel and Fedora's GNOME and Arch's Orca, and I also get to build packages with Emerge and Gentoo for stuff that I have patched because I need to. Amazing. Love that. Stuff just explodes sometimes, and I'm like, don't know.
So you mentioned also using Windows. Do you still currently use Windows? Is that what you're saying?
For very few things. I use Windows because I flight simulate. I play flight sim.
Right.
There's a blind pilot's like way of playing flight sim. It was made accessible by this volunteer team. Microsoft did some work, but like the aircraft still weren't accessible. And I really enjoy flying. I've really enjoyed planes. I skydived twice. It was great fun. Highly recommend doing it if you haven't.
I've not.
I think you should do it. It's amazing. Anyway, completely like back on topic. I use Windows for that, and because of my sector of work, I have to use Windows for work. But I hate it. Every day at work, I'm sat there going, "This is so inefficient. Why can't I press Super 3 and then Super Shift F5 to jump to the 5th window on Workspace 3.
Mm-hmm.
Why
So,
can't I do that?
besides the obvious niceties you get from using Linux and being able to like hotkey random things, what is the general Windows experience actually like for you?
I mean, Windows is generally more accessible than Linux just because there are more screen reader options. There are like 3,
Mhm.
2 that are like really big, and then Windows has a built-in one that
Mhm.
some people say you can actively use. I don't believe them. I don't think they're actually using it.
So what are the actual good ones then?
NVDA and JAWS. And JAWS is really expensive.
Oh, okay.
NVDA is a free open source project.
Mhm.
And both of them are good. They all have add-on communities and script communities to make apps that aren't accessible.
Mhm.
They add functionality. Um, they do all kinds of things. Like, for example, I used a JAWS feature earlier today when I need to do something else with a webcam that wasn't this. I need to capture a document. I need to send a picture of a passport because I'm going on holiday soon. I need to send a passport photo. So I used JAWS's camera picture smart feature to help me center the document so I could take a picture of the passport and then upload it to the website. That doesn't exist for Linux. I would have had to guess or like take the picture on my phone and then email it to myself. Like that just existed and I could just use it.
Right.
Also, generally, if you're looking for accessibility information, you're going to find it on Windows first.
Right. Well, there's just generally more people on Windows. There's going to be more people that are talking about it. Like, that kind of just makes sense.
Yeah. But I keep using Linux because, I don't know, people have asked me, why do you use Linux? And my only answer is, like, because I like it.
You said you have that M1 Mac. Before you did Asahi on it, did you try out macOS just to see what it was like?
I've used macOS for years.
Okay.
My music software that I use is Logic.
Okay.
I use Logic Pro.
What is the macOS experience like then?
VoiceOver has been left to rot on the Mac. Okay. On the mobile platforms, not so much. On the Mac, it's been left to rot. Navigating the web is an actual chore. I have to disable VoiceOver's navigation fields manually to type in text fields. Even Linux doesn't have that problem.
Jesus.
I have to go back to like 1995 and tell the screen reader, no, I don't want you to have access to the keyboard right now.
Oh god. Oh god.
And then sometimes it's like, I don't care, I'm keeping it anyway. Or like, hey, your up arrow is now your right arrow. Good luck.
What? What?
That happens.
What?
Your up arrow is now your right arrow.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The solution to this every time, turn VoiceOver off and back on again.
So, okay, well, I guess there is some, I guess on other systems you'll turn it off and on again to fix it, because on you don't really make many options.
So here was a great VoiceOver bug, and I know this is meant to be Linux focused, but I'm going to point this one out because it was gloriously done. Find a password field in any browser, and try and press down arrow to bring up autofill. No VoiceOver. And it wasn't even just that VoiceOver would turn off or not speak or anything. You try and turn it back on, and it wouldn't turn back on.
Oh.
It made core.apple.speech the synthesis daemon, hang. Not die, not crash, not gracefully exit, not tell you there was no... Hang.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yep.
That's fun.
And like, again, navigating the web with a Mac is a chore because VoiceOver can't view anything until the whole page is loaded. And so rather than just like give you some like nice loading music or whatever, I don't care. Make it elevator music. I'm not bothered. It will sit there and say, not responding, not responding, not responding, not responding. And you can't even navigate out to do something else.
That's so dumb.
It's really stupid.
Oh my god.
I feel like these are things that I need to demonstrate. Maybe I'll send you some videos at some point, and you can like send them to people to laugh at and go, "Oh my god, this is terrible." Because
Yeah,
I
no,
do.
I would
I
love
always
to see that.
like just doing stupid things. Um, Now the Mac has the best OCR solution that I've ever seen
That's good.
because it has like positional sounds and positional indicators, and it doesn't require you to map your own mouse coordinates with a hash table that maybe will be compressed into an enum because Rust. Yay. Rust is great. I love Rust. But actually making like slightly off topic, actually making a fast like code interpreter in Rust, it was really hard. Like actually making a threaded code interpreter is really, really hard if you want it to be performant. Someone like asked me on Mastodon. I posted a general question on Mastodon asking like, how can you do this? And so I like went off to try, and I was like, JIT, I guess. That's your option.
Right. We've kind of hit on a lot of like. There's obviously we could probably keep talking forever about this, but I think we've hit on a lot of like general things. We did like go down random tangents a bunch, so there's definitely things in here.
Yeah, we did.
Look, I think there's plenty for like another episode if you want to do another one at some point in the future.
I'm totally up for doing another episode. Maybe like because I'm releasing a couple more posts soon about like again about the Braille stuff, about the console, about my next one after that is about grub and bootloaders and dealing with covering a system when it completely goes. And then I think the one after that is about ATSPI and why focus tracking is weird. And then the one after that was going to really annoy a lot of people. It's about glibc, which is going to really wind people up because like there are so many accessibility projects written in C. And I'm going to spoil a little bit of it. There's so many accessibility projects written in C, and then glibc updates and everything falls apart.
Right.
Because they fixed a bug that like that's a feature. I've been using that since 2012. That's not a bug. It's not a bug anymore, guys. That's a feature. Or like the kernel's obsession with don't break user space. What if user space is already broken and the only way for me to fix it is to break it?
Right.
Like, for some people, user space is already broken. The only way to fix something, like that thing with Pulse Audio where there was a patch 6 times round to mute sound, then unmute it, then mute it, then cancel the unmute by putting ALSA CTL in another service. This actually happened. This was a thing. Because someone didn't like the weird crackle that happened when the kernel started up because there was like garbage data written to the sound.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like, I know how I'll solve this problem. I'll just mute sound.
Again, it's one of those things where it makes sense if you're not someone who relies on sound for your system. But
I'll mute sound. I forget which version of the kernel it was, but I remember upgrading and like it wasn't the kernel, sorry, it's Pulse Audio. I upgraded Pulse Audio and then like I had no sound because all port volumes were set to 0.
That's so dumb.
But like the system said the speakers were unmuted because they technically were. It just changed all the port volumes.
Oh, right, because zero
So it wasn't
volume.
even like I'd get someone to look at it and they'd go, no, your sound looks like it's unmuted, and they don't know to go and check.
Yeah.
This like config file that like no one knows exists.
Yeah. Zero and mute being separate states is actually really dumb.
Stupid. Especially when all of your ports are muted. Surely the graphical interface should be like, hey, I know that your sound is unmuted here, but by the way, all your ports are muted, so it's still not going to work.
Jesus Christ.
Another thing that we don't have is an accessible pipewire graph editor. The only way to do anything with pipewire is with pwdump and pwlink and all that stuff. pwcli.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably really hard to do, but like, if someone wants to make an accessible pipewire graph editor that like lets you actually do stuff.
Yeah, like I do everything with QPW graph, and it
tried it, can't use it.
Yeah.
I actually thought about asking you the other day for some help. Like, I'm genuinely not serious. I thought about dropping you a message on Discord to being like, can you help me with a thing? I was trying to set up audio capture because I was trying to record something for a bug report, and it just wasn't happening. And I was like, well, I know he does this in streams. I wonder if he would mind like actually logging into my laptop with like VNC and just fixing it. So that's the problem. Because I don't really like know many people who use Linux.
Right.
And I was like, why am I even thinking about doing this? Like, how is this still a problem?
What were you actually trying to use for the capture?
I was trying to use FFmpeg to record the audio, and then I was trying to route the audio of my speech to a virtual sync, and while also capturing my microphone. And the reason it wasn't working is because Pipewire's nodes are ephemeral. And so every time the speech would stop, the node would disappear and then get recreated.
Yep.
And so like rerunning the script every time it spoke was not helpful. And putting a sleep in wasn't working because it would like cut off parts of it, and like it was really important that the whole thing be sent because it was doing some weird stuff with language changing, and I didn't understand why. So like it was like reading something in a different language, and I was really confused as to what was happening. And that needed to be very clear. So I was like, I wonder who would know how to fix this, because I posted in a couple of Discord servers, like in a couple of like the support forums, because generally Linux people as a whole are really nice people. There's just a really loud minority that are not. But generally there are really nice people that are like willing to help you with stuff. And I posted and everyone was just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I use QPW graph or Helvum or what was the other one? Sonamix or something, and I was like, yeah, none of them work.
Right.
I've tried them all.
Yeah, the whole ephemeral node thing has that's caused me some problems as well, trying to link things up. Yeah, it's this is why Jack is still around, for all the problems that Jack might cause.
Well, I don't know how to use it. I've never used it, and so I was using PACMD and PWLink to try and get what I wanted. Eventually, the way I managed to solve it was by creating 2 virtual syncs, piping audio constantly into one of them, and then just changing my system output to it, because then there was constant audio playing to the sync, even though it was just silence.
That's so stupid, but I guess.
But I played the like staticky noise that I was having to use through a 4th channel, so then I could put it into the second virtual sync that only had 2 channels, so then it would only capture the front left and front right, but it would still keep the nodes alive. That's how I ended up solving the problem.
That's such a dumb hack, and I love it.
There was no other way I could find. I had no other way of fixing it. I mean, I just had to like edit it out in post. I had to go and get a Mac to edit a recording I made on Linux.
That's dumb.
It's really dumb.
Yeah. Well,
and again, I'm totally happy to do another episode on this. Like, I'm happy to talk about this as many times as you want, or like just anything else on Linux generally, because like I think there's a lot of things that I probably do differently that like people don't think about. Just simply because of like, maybe because of how I learned to do it, or maybe because of this is what worked. Because so many people are just like, oh, I use the GUI for file management. I don't. For copying files and stuff, I have other programs that I wrote that like, I copy files from one directory and they get stored, the paths get stored in an array that's stored in a temp file, and then I go and type another command once I've cd'd to the directory I want, and it pastes all the files there, because I don't want to copy every file individually. And sometimes there's like files that spread around, so like I'll copy something from my documents, something from videos, something from music, and I want them all to go into one folder.
Yeah.
So I get them to be put into an like JSON file in my temp folder, and then a different command goes ahead and looks at that file and goes, okay, here's where all the things to copy are, and then like copies them.
Huh.
Because touching a graphical file manager is slow. And like all of the like TUI based ones are mostly inaccessible.
Huh. That would definitely interesting to talk about. No, I would absolutely love to talk about that. I don't like that it's like this, but I feel like I am the only one in the Linux like YouTube space.
No one else has reached out to me. No other creator reached out.
Yeah. Like I feel like
other like desktop makers and stuff did, but no creators did.
Yeah, like I look up like you know what? Let's do it right now. Let me search.
Let's look up Linux accessibility on YouTube. Yeah.
Let's see Linux accessibility. Okay, that's a bit different. That's a talk at the Linux at like a Linux Foundation. That's different. Okay.
When did that happen? I never heard about this.
A year ago. Modernizing accessibility for desktop Linux by Matt Campbell.
I know Matt. Matt's a fantastic individual.
Mm-hmm.
Matt is who did the implementation for the. Matt is who did the prototyping for the Mutter support for the dbus keybinds.
I should bring Matt on here at some point.
He would be a fun person to talk to. He did a recording in like 2001 of installing Debian blind from floppy disks.
That's cool.
I think I might still have it somewhere. It was glorious. This is before I was born, but like it was still fun to see.
There's a video here from 2 years ago. There's a video here from 8 years ago, and there we go. There's me, and then the next one is me.
Yeah, you address this a lot. Like, I genuinely enjoy watching your videos because I can relate to so many of the things that are issues.
Mm-hmm.
But like other creators, no shade to them at all, but I watch their videos and they're like, oh, my colors are drawing in the wrong shade of pink.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. That's the complaint today, is it? Like, okay, I get that it impacts your workflow, and I guess if you're colorblind, that's a really big problem.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, you don't even like they don't even say, oh, this could be a really big problem if you're colorblind. They're just like wailing on the like, my display server is doing a dumb thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and, like I say, I'm not trying to throw shade at any creators.
No,
if any creator wants to talk to me, I'm happy to talk to them. But I'm kind of surprised considering how many creators and people in the creator space actually saw my post, and like boosted it and reposted it and whatever else that they did. That no one else decided, hey, maybe we should start a discussion. Like, even if it wasn't to come on their show or whatever, like, I'm not expecting people to be like, come and talk about it on my show. But just like, hey, I'm interested. Tell me stuff.
Yeah, no.
That didn't really happen. And then you come out with a video that I didn't expect to see. Because I just kind of went, oh, that's a really coincidental title. Is this like a satire thing of like, haha, Linux is perfect? Like, I was kind of like, oh, this has got to be satire, right? Like, this has got to be satire. And then someone else was like, hey, your post was mentioned in a video. And I was like, wait,
No, it's one of those it's one of those pet issues I have. Like, it's not something that like personally affects me, but like it's something I'm genuinely interested in.
I think one of the big things that people don't understand is accessibility isn't just for the people that are currently disabled. You could walk into a shelf next week.
Yeah.
That's at eye level.
Yeah.
And like, suddenly, like, even if you don't lose your sight forever, you've got to wear a blindfold for like a while your eyes heal. What do you do then?
I think most people like understand it with like movement-based things, right? Like if you're in a like most people understand like if you get in a car crash, like you could be in a wheelchair. But I guess like the connection isn't made in the same way.
Conditions too.
Yeah.
Like 60% of people lose their sight in later life. I think that's the statistic. Something like that. Or get worse eyesight.
Right.
Now imagine if you didn't have to strain your eyes to look at your screen and could just be like, oh, well, this accessibility tooling exists. I'll just use that because it's really well documented and I can learn it.
Well, even if it's not something you need, just Like there are.
It makes sense to do it.
Like yeah, there are cases where like being able to have something that announces what's happening on your screen can still be useful, like just in like a general context.
You've just reminded me of a thing that happened. It was a horror story before the NVIDIA drivers existed.
Oh.
Someone in the Linux Discord server, one of them, I'm not going to say which one, was trying to install, I think, Arch. No. Yeah, it was Arch on a. No, it was Gentoo. Sorry, I'm getting confused because this is happening. It was Gentoo. They wanted to build Gentoo and it had no NVIDIA drivers.
Right.
Right? And so they were booting to a black screen on their install, like their minimal install CD. Because it was trying to use the NVIDIA GPU. And so someone tagged me in this thread because they were like, I know someone who's done this without a screen before. And so I got on a call with them, got them to enable Speak Up. And we got through the install that way.
Wow.
They had no screen and they were able.
I'd never even considered it. I don't use NVIDIA for good reason. But
very good reasons. Don't use NVIDIA. Yeah. NVIDIA, you.
But like, I hadn't even considered using it as like.
I wasn't sure if I could say that, so I had to like stop myself.
It's fine. It's fine. But like, I hadn't even considered using it as like, I don't have a proper working graphical output. I can just use a thing to use my system.
Yeah, like there you go. Like, even as someone who thinks about this, that's something that you never thought about. Do you know how many times that's saved people? Just because I happen to be in the room and I know how it works. Like, not even just on Windows, when like someone was projecting to a second screen and the second screen disconnected and the primary monitor didn't come back. And so they were going to reboot because that's all they could do, and they had work that they hadn't saved. And I'm like, give it here. Give me the laptop.
Yeah, I have to think more on that. That's actually, yeah.
Like, how many people have you heard say, "Oh, I tried to install Linux and I got a black screen with a blinking cursor"? Bet you Speak Up would have saved you. Speak Up probably would have saved you.
Yeah, and then
like Linus Tech Tips, when he uninstalled his desktop, the first thing I thought was, start Speak Up, my guy.
To be fair,
sudo systemctl start eSpeakUp.
To be fair, he was dropped into a TTY, so he had everything. It wasn't a black screen.
But I mean, no. But when he had the screen with the cursor, like before he hit the reset button, he was probably in a TTY just with no graphical output. It will have dropped to a TTY even without graphical output. He'd have been able to start like eSpeakUp at that point and thought, oh, I have a apt process running, like PS AUC, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I have an apt process running. What is that apt process running? Let me make that apt process my now foreground job and see what the hell's going on. Let me foreground that, like FG and then whatever, like whatever you do. That would have saved him because those packages were still uninstalling when he rebooted, and so even if he'd done sudo apt install pop session Xorg whatever else, he'd have got the like dpkg lock because those packages hadn't finished removing themselves.
Yep.
But like the first thing I thought, and then I was like kind of like going, why did I even think of that? Of course he's not going to do that.
No.
Like, but that was the first thing that came into my head was like, start eSpeakUp. It's installed, and you already don't have a graphical session, so Pipewire isn't going to be getting in your way of running a sound thingy as root. Like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, there's so many cases I hear of people like installing something, and they get into their desktop and like, you know, NVIDIA GPUs, and it's like, oh, we don't have a graphical session, but like, you can
probably do.
Yeah, but like, there's probably a way to work around that, and like the sound is the way to do that.
Turn on the screen reader. It might not be the best way because you're going to have to navigate with a keyboard because it doesn't work well when you navigate with a mouse. There was another Linus Tech Tips video that really annoyed me. They were showing off like meme Linux distributions, and they showed Vinux as a meme. That really wound me up.
Wait, I don't remember this video.
I can find it for you.
Let me see. LCG meme. Ah, yeah. 10 weird versions of Linux actually exist.
Yes,
like that?
that one.
Yeah. Okay.
They showed Linux as a meme, and okay, it's not great now, but back from when it was current, it was a revolution in Linux accessibility. Why are we hating on that, guys?
Right.
Why are we memeing that? And okay, people are going to come out and say, oh, well, that's not what they meant by it, but that's how a lot of people took it.
Well, it was directly following Justin Bieber and Hannah Montana Linux.
Exactly. Yes, this is it. Like, it actually put, I think, a negative spin on Linux accessibility. I think that, not a massive impact. I'm not going to say, oh, it destroyed it. But I think it had an impact because now people think, oh, well, no blind person is going to use Linux because it's horrible for accessibility and this distribution made for the blind, all it says is window, window, window. First of all, you're using it with a mouse. Second of all, that's not current. And so I think some people may have looked at that and gone, oh, well, I'm not going to bother making this accessible because it's not going to be usable anyway. I can't prove that, obviously, but like... That maybe it's because I used it, right? Maybe it upset me because I've actually used it and I was like, this helped me get through early school. Maybe that's the reasoning, but like, come on.
I do see that Gardner Bryan did a video, like a React video to that one, and
I haven't seen that.
He titled it "Reacting to LTT's Linux history video" in brackets disappointed. So I'm assuming
I haven't.
He wasn't a fan of something that was said.
Yeah, I'll have to watch his reaction videos. His reaction videos generally make me laugh. So I'll have to watch that. Again, I watched it and I commented on it and I was like, I made a post on their Reddit and it got downvoted massively.
It did. Yeah,
but,
of course.
Sorry, we've gone off on a really big tangent.
No, it's all good.
We
probably should be ending off at some point as well because it's just gone. What is it? Just past 2 a.m. here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, for me it's... Oh, wow, it's 5. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we did talk a bit before we actually started, and then we went longer than the episode would normally go anyway, so, you know, it is what it is.
Oh, are you going to have to edit this down then?
Nah,
there's going to be some stuff cut.
Okay. If there's anything that you remember you said that you want me to cut, I'm happy to do that, but, like, otherwise...
I don't think I've said anything I'm not happy to go on record saying.
Okay, cool. If you
including my NVIDIA bit.
But no, I the way I usually do it is I upload the entire episode and then I split it out into clips. So that'll be fine. But yeah, I guess if people want to check out the blog posts or anything else you want to direct them to, where can they go?
So you can go to fireborn.matora.blog. So that's fireborn.mataroa.blog. And my Mastodon is fireborn@dragonscave.space. Go ahead and like message me there or whatever you want, and check out my stuff. Some of my posts are serious, some of them are not. Right? My blog isn't all about ranting. I mean, if you look at it right now, my top post is not a serious one.
Yeah, I did see that. The first Linux...
That is a joke.
The first dating apps for Linux users because you've already mounted /dev/sad.
That is a joke.
Yeah.
There is a reason for the satire piece, but I'll leave that for, like... You can come and ask me about it and I'll explain the satire piece to you.
Okay.
But I wanted to lighten the tone a bit. And so I made a satire piece.
Fair enough.
So not everything is serious. Not everything is doom and gloom. I want to post I went to see a band a couple weeks ago, and I want to post a review of like that gig that I went to because it was amazing. So my blog is just for anything and everything. And so if you want specifically Linux stuff, I guess look out for my posts with Linux in the title, because not all of them are going to be that. I wish that the blogging platform I'm using had a way for me to tag stuff, but they don't.
Right.
The reason I'm using it incidentally is because it's fully accessible, very minimal, and lets me put Markdown in rather than have to use a weird, horrible HTML editor that I don't want to use. Like, it's just the page to post a new post is literally like 2 text boxes: title, post content.
Well, that works.
And I love it. I love it so much. Like, I can set it as a draft. There's a link to set as draft and the publication date, but there's no like insert formatting blocks or any of that stuff.
Right.
It's not a block-based editor. It's literally just 2 text boxes and a couple of links for me to like change some post stuff. And that's exactly what I want out of a website.
Is there anything else?
I wish it would translate languages.
Yes.
Like, because when I get my translations, because I have a couple of people translating my posts now, at least the serious ones, maybe not so much the humorous ones, but the Linux accessibility related ones, I'm gonna have to post them as whole new posts and then like spam people who have subscribed to my mailing list, which I don't want to do. I don't want to do that necessarily, but there's no way for me to like say, here's an alternative version of this post in a different language, and then if your system locale is set to it. I thought about making my own platform for this, and then I was just like, that's something else I have to maintain.
It probably wouldn't be that difficult to spin something like that up with like Hugo or something like that. Is there anything else
about the languages?
Is there anything else you want to direct people to, or is that pretty much it?
That's really all I've got that's public facing. Obviously my Discord, but like if you want that, I've got to have interacted with you first.
Yeah.
Like don't just randomly start adding me to stuff.
Right.
Please.
Right.
And yeah, that's it. This is what I do. If you want to check out my window manager project, you can do that. Bear in mind, it's probably not for you. It does exactly what I need it to do and nothing else.
Right.
But if you want it to work more for you, then like I guess make PRs.
Okay. Cool. So my main channel is Brody Robertson. I do Linux videos there 6-ish days a week. Sometimes I also stream. I also have a gaming channel, Brody on Games. Right now I'm playing through Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Kazan the First Berserker. If you want to see clips from that channel, I have the Brody Robertson Reacts. I upload random React videos from the stream. And if you want to see the video version of this is on YouTube at Tech Over Tea. The audio version is on basically every podcast platform. There is an RSS feed. Spotify has video as well, if that's your thing. I don't use Spotify video, but it's easy to set up for me, so it's there. I will give you the final word. What do you want to say? How do you want to sign off the episode?
I've been thinking about this a lot, about what my sign-off was going to be.
Oh, you actually know. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a nice change.
And I think the only thing I'm going to say is if you're a maintainer of accessibility, please don't break it. And if you're canonical and you are actively breaking it, stop it.
Fair enough. I agree.
Yeah.